What's happening, beautiful people? My name is Crystal Holland, and I want to thank you for tuning into Inhabit My Eyes, learning how to heal through the stories of afflicted healers. This podcast will be a safe place to talk about deep and hard human questions centered around chronic illnesses, physical, mental, and spiritual health and wellness, spiritual abuse, and trauma. On this platform, we will discuss tools to healing holistically. Complex topics need complex solutions because humans are beautiful, complex creations shaped by complex lived experiences. This podcast is strictly for educational purposes. We are not licensed healthcare professionals. Please contact your primary care physician, therapist, or licensed counselor to get the professional help you need. This podcast will discuss topics that may cause a trauma response in you. Therefore, I suggest you seek professional support and pause on listening to any topics you're not prepared to navigate through until you have the necessary support to be successful on your healing journey. Thank you so much for choosing to listen to Inhabit My Eyes. Let's acknowledge, learn, grieve, heal, grow, build, and serve one day at a time. Hey, Lovely Life family. It's your sis Crystal. Welcome back to another episode of Inhabit My Eyes. This is a platform where we're going to be dealing with chronic illness, having discussions around it. We're going to talk about mental, physical, and spiritual wellness, as well as spiritual abuse and trauma. And it's a safe place to have these hard, deep human questions that are centered around chronic illness and the complexities of it and how to navigate through life. I am incredibly excited to have a beautiful, courageous woman with us today, Ricky, that's really open to sharing her story and what it's been like for her to journey through chronic illness. So get your pens and your paper and let's get some tools and learn from her journey. Thank you so much, Ricky, for agreeing to come on and share your story. I do want to preference this conversation just how we met.
Okay.
So our kiddos were in school together. I can't remember which grade. I don't know if they met in sixth or fifth grade.
Fifth grade, I think.
I think it was fifth grade, and they played basketball together. And I'll never forget the first time I saw you. I was like, she is gorgeous. And we ended up sitting next to each other at one of our kids' basketball games and just started talking. And for the life of me, I cannot remember how you ended up telling me your diagnosis. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I told you, I was like, oh my gosh, I have Crohn's disease. And you were like, no way. And so that's kind of how, in our ongoing conversations, and then just picking time to get together, have a conversation. And as women, as wives, as mothers, support is crucial. And so I value your story and thank you for your friendship and love and being willing to come on here. And so I'm going to give you the floor to introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Okay. Well, my name is Ricky. Actually, it's Ulrich, but I go by Ricky. My story, well, I'm a mother. I've got 2 kids. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for about 13, 14 years, somewhere in there. And I have dealt with chronic health issues, primarily ulcerative colitis. But I'm more than just that, obviously. I'm a helper. I've always seen myself as a helper, even before I became a nurse. But yeah, I think just that innate nature in me wanting to help others is what kind of led me to the nursing career, which is where I'm at right now.
Man. Oh my goodness. So tell me what was going on in your life when you started to notice a decline in your health?
Oh gosh. So now we're going back almost 20 years, 19 years ago. And it's unfortunate that I remember exactly when, because I have a horrible memory. But it was 19 years ago because it was roughly 6 months after I had my first baby. So life was good at that. Before that, I was roughly 24. Life was moving forward. I was enjoying being married, enjoying, the idea of motherhood and being a new mother. And so I kind of got stopped in my tracks
Yeah.
with, the sudden onset of abdominal pain that just wouldn't go away no matter what I stopped eating or did eat. Um, and not to be too graphic, but bloody diarrhea.
Mhm.
Um, literally just out of nowhere, 6 months after I had my daughter. So I don't know if it was the stress of pregnancy that brought it on. No doctor has been able to tell me what triggered it. But, you know, before this happened, life was good. I was young and I don't want to say naive, but you think about, diseases and these chronic issues, and you think, oh, that's for old people,
Mhm.
not me. Uh,
Right.
so it really kind of stopped me on my tracks to be not only a new mother navigating motherhood, but also now I've got to navigate truly taking care of my body. Because when you're young, I mean, honestly, I didn't, really watch what I ate. I just kind of ate whatever. Metabolism was great. So it didn't really, never really entered into my consciousness to modify my diet or do anything different. But yeah, at that point, yeah, it stopped me in my tracks and I knew some things had to change.
Man. So the abruptness of it that's the similarity in our stories because my symptoms didn't surface until after my first baby.
Yeah.
I had one doctor say that it's possible because the immune system is suppressed during pregnancy
Hmm.
and that some stuff that's dormant, viruses that can aggravate the immune system, just kind of wake up and they have time to, hey, let me, just like immunosuppressant drugs, we're more
Yeah,
susceptible to infection. And because there's like a billion viruses and bacteria,
true.
sometimes I guess the immune system, I don't know. That was the theory that was fed to me about the possibility of a Y after pregnancy.
Hmm.
It occurred. What was your steps after that? Did you like kind of, what did you do next?
I saw lots of doctors. Like most people, I went to a GI doctor to get some answers. I think it probably took about a year though before I actually got an official diagnosis.
Okay.
So at that time, I saw, my primary care doctor who said, hey, let's try an antibiotic. Let me send you to a GI doctor. Let's do, a colonoscopy. Let's try another medication. Um, and after a year, we had a solid diagnosis of the ulcerative colitis. Um, and I was on pills. I was on, prednisone. I was on some pain pills for when I would have really, intense abdominal pain. Um, but I want to say, 2 or 3 years in, I realized this can't be my life because the prednisone was causing this a massive weight gain, was causing some changes with my mood. Um, and so I knew there had to be something different that needed to be done, that could be done, but really just trying different doctors and not honestly getting solid answer or really getting relief. So even though I was on the prednisone, I was on immune modulators, I would still have, pain. I would still have, issues with the diarrhea.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually at one point had a doctor, I went to his office and he said, I have nothing else to give you. There's literally no other drug out there that we can try. Um, he said, I can't help you. There's nothing else I can do. And I left that office crying. Here I am, like 26, I think 27. And I just felt hopeless. And I'm like, what I had read at that point about colitis is that, there was no cure. It
Mhm.
can just get worse and worse. And I felt that that's where I was headed, that I was never going to be a point where I was actually back to who I used to be.
Yeah.
So,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah. No, yeah, I was young and I had no help. I had to try to figure things out myself and that it was really hard. So, but I can honestly say that's one of the reasons though I became a nurse. I had to become my own advocate. I had to do lots of research and the internet wasn't as big then. as it is now. And so I remember ordering lots of books, going to the bookstores all the time, trying to read whatever I could about this diagnosis to figure
Wow.
out what other things can I be doing that the doctors just don't know about yet.
Man, and so, gosh, and I know that our listeners haven't even heard the full story for you, but I'm sitting here trying to wrap my mind around new baby, almost a year to get a diagnosis,
Hmm.
multiple doctors, being told there's nothing else that you can do. And
Yeah.
then you chose to go to school
Hmm.
while fighting a chronic illness.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, there's so many similarities in our story.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, so tell me, how did your life change?
With the diagnosis,
Yes.
with the colitis, um, I missed out on a lot, I feel like. Um, you know, there were certain things that, I missed out on different family events, different things with the kids. I mean, of course I was there, I was their mother, but you have that regret and you kind of have that, I guess really just the regret that you weren't there for all of their games or you weren't able to, stay up late and help with some particular project. Just because you were in pain, you were curled up in the fetal position in the bed. Um, Not being able to go out with friends, actually losing friends, because I just don't have the energy. I'm in pain. I can't go out this weekend. Um, so yeah, that was really hard. That it changed my life a lot because here I am, young and on top of the world in my opinion, and now all of a sudden, I'm at home, which is not
Yeah.
where I have to be.
So tell me, and if you can tell our listeners, exactly how does ulcerative colitis affect you?
Um, how does it like what do you mean by that? Like how does
Uh,
it affect
so
the body?
symptom wise,
Affect
do
the mind?
you, because I know there's a plethora of symptoms that are associated with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. And so
Okay.
I know you mentioned earlier dealing with the bloody diarrhea. For
Hmm.
some reason, for some people, they deal with joint pain, their vision is affected, rashes. How has it, with what you're comfortable sharing? And there's no holds barred because people that are
Okay.
just learning that they get this disease are learning from us. And so, whatever you're comfortable with sharing.
So in its peak, when it had first came on, it was definitely pain, a lot of pain for me, lower abdominal pain. I remember, and I'll get into the details, but I remember one particular time I was headed off to work and I had my baby in the carrier. So this is early on, and I went, put her in the car, got in the driver's seat to go to work. And I literally couldn't drive. Just the motion of moving and moving my feet on the pedals like this hurt so bad. So I got out the car. It took me a while to get out the car, got her back in the house, and I had to call in to my manager and say, "Hey, I can't get to work today. I physically cannot. I'm in that much pain."
Man.
So for me, pain was a big part of it. The bloody diarrhea, um, and like almost like a burning sensation. Honestly, anytime you had to go, feeling nauseated,
Mhm.
um, feeling hungry, but also no appetite at the same time. As odd as that may sound.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I didn't experience any joint pain, and I think my body was still young, so a lot of things probably were able to I was able to overlook, or my body was able to compensate.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, primarily those things. But what I noticed over the years as it progressed in my body was um, my body wasn't able to absorb nutrients. So I had a huge loss of just your basic vitamins and minerals that everybody's body needs to function. Um, I was losing those because my body wasn't able to absorb them because of the colitis and all the inflammation. And then that cascaded into other issues. So where I had to take tons of supplements, tons of vitamins, had to get like vitamin IVs to supplement what my body, my GI system couldn't process. I had to take B12 shots. Um, so I think that actually led to some other issues that I'm dealing with now, dealing with my thyroid and also my like neuroendocrine system. And that's going off on a whole nother tangent. Um,
Okay.
but one thing I realize that I try to tell people now is that when it comes on, don't ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier you treat something, the better off you will be in the long run.
That's
And unfortunately, yeah, I went several years without, I had a diagnosis, but I didn't really have a full treatment that really calmed my system down. And
mhm.
so that inflammation just kind of persisted. And, it's a certain point, there's so much damage that's done, there's no correcting that other than to kind of compensate with different supplements and different things. So, but that's been colitis for me.
Well, and I'm glad that if you don't mind me going there, that you really mentioned like there's a domino effect with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. After so
Mhm.
long, battling an autoimmune condition can trigger or cause other conditions to begin to surface. And so I think that that was vital and crucial that you brought that up. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
And even though you may have gotten to a point, which we'll go there next, because I want to learn what are you doing now to manage the ulcerative colitis, but knowing that even as you're managing that, you're also managing underlying conditions that have been birthed out of the chronic inflammation. And so what has it been looking like to manage ulcerative colitis for you?
Um, Honestly, diet and exercise. As
Mhm.
simple as that may sound, but it's the truth. It's almost like full circle. It took years and tons of reading, tons of research to realize that the nutritional state of the body is so important, and it really is what can make or break your system, because there's so many things we're exposed to out in the environment, you know but really how you're taking care of your body, which is what you're putting in, and how you're exercising it makes a huge impact. But
Right.
right now, specifically, I'm gluten free, I'm dairy free, I don't do excessive alcohol. um, Pretty much I don't do anything in a box. I don't do box foods, mixes. I don't do frozen foods. I pretty much try to do whole, fresh foods and make my food from scratch. And it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds hard, but it's not. Um, Over the years, I've kind of got it down to a science to where I can go and whip something up pretty quick that is nutritional and it's healthy and it tastes good.
Okay.
Um, but with my colitis, I don't have to give up everything because I haven't given up sugar. Can't do that one. I try to do, healthier sugars whenever I can, natural sugars. I'll try to do, honey. Oh gosh, what's the red one? Not beet. I can't think of. Oh, date syrup, which is a
Okay.
great sweetener. So I do try to do more natural things as much as possible, but I'll have a cookie with gluten every once in a while. But because I've been able to maintain and really keep the inflammation down in my body, it's
Mhm.
okay if I, have a piece of pie every once in a while, if I want to have a couple of drinks, but it's not something that I do every single day.
Right.
So really figuring out the diet piece has honestly made a huge difference in really keeping it at bay, because all those different things, the mixes, the box foods, the frozen foods, it causes inflammation.
Yeah.
Dif- Different components, different substances, and those boxes and that stuff that honestly doesn't our bodies can process it, but our bodies don't like it.
Yeah.
And it causes inflammation, and colitis is inflammation, inflammation of the colon. Uh,
Yes.
so if I can calm down what I'm putting in my body and keep my inflammation low, that really has been able to keep the colitis away. So that's been a huge like game changer for me.
That's huge. Now, how long did it take you to develop this plan and a good system? What would you say the time span was on that for you?
Took a long time.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see, I've been dealing with this 19 years. So I mean, 7 years in, it took a while. And I've kind of perfected it to this point now, but I would try to give up different little things along the way and
Mhm.
do like the SCD diet. from different books I've read, or just get rid of all the wheat, get rid of all the carbs. So I've modified it and just realized whole foods is the way to go. But it took a while to get to that point where I realized what actually would work for my body. But now I'm in such a rhythm with it. It's the new normal for me, which is fine.
Okay. And I think it's good that people are getting kind of a realistic perspective of this takes time.
Yeah.
Your body is going to communicate to you what it likes, what it doesn't like, and then you may have it like 2 days that you're doing good on a certain dish, and then all of a sudden your body's like, nope, I don't like this, and you're running to the bathroom, and you're like, oh, okay,
Oh yeah.
but it takes time and a lot of patience, lots
Yeah.
and lots of patience, which really has to do with just your attitude and focus during the time. Because when you're in pain, when you're in discomfort, it's hard. It's very, very hard to be positive. It's hard to hold on to hope. But we're living, breathing witnesses that it's possible.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
We're
It
talking
is.
to 19 years and still
Yeah.
plowing. And
I know.
yes,
Still going strong.
yes, indeed. What were the hardest things for you to let go of?
Hardest things to let go of. Probably being in a state of being in a state of just feeling unwell. You kind of get used to expecting the pain, um, expecting the issues, expecting to be just this sick person. And
Yeah.
so, but I still had that drive and determination. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. Um, but even though I started to find a way to make myself feel better,
Hmm.
being in that state of hopelessness and just being kind of like the disease, I'm the mother, I'm the wife, but I'm also this person with ulcerative colitis, to kind of let that thought go was really hard.
Yes.
um, I had to realize, I'm so much more, and I can't just keep living in this state, because the more that you're thinking about it, consuming it, it kind of it stays there. It stays with you, and that was the hardest thing, because your minds are strong,
Hmm.
and my mind was just holding on to that state for so long, and it was hard to kind of to let it go, to say, hey, no more. I'm waking up, I'm actually feeling good today. I'm not going to have those thoughts about it. I'm not going to worry about, is it going to come back today? Am I going to have this issue? If it comes up, it comes up, but I'm not going to live in it and anticipate it.
Right.
So it was really hard just to get out of that mindset,
Yeah.
that that frame of mind, because it honestly becomes a part of who you are, and it's hard. It's really hard.
It's
So
like intentionally thinking about what you're thinking about.
yes.
Because when you're fighting something so chronic and in and out of the hospital and dealing with high levels of pain, it's traumatic. It's just chronic trauma to your body, to your mind,
Hmm.
and trying to remind yourself, okay, you're not where you were last year or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And to truly step forward and not entertain that thought, it's work.
Oh yeah. Well, no, and you say the trauma and that stress on the body, and that's one thing that I've learned, and I'm kind of like just been doing research on lately, is just the stress from even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, how your body holds on to that, and not even when I say your body, like your whole neuroendocrine system holds on to that and actually affects how your body operates. And it's so, I'm still trying to figure out how to get rid of it, but but it is a huge factor into having your body in a disease state and getting out of that.
Yeah.
So is that trauma and that stress that comes along with it.
Well,
So
and I would add to that even the grieving process because and I don't know if a lot of people have associated the amount of grieving
mm,
that the chronic illness community deals with on a consistent basis because even when you're making progress and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not dealing with much pain today. Oh, I ate this and I did good. And then
Yeah.
when you flare, it's the disappointment, and then it's literally a loss. It's like you're grieving it all over again. And there's the natural emotions that come with grieving. There's the anger, there's the denial. There's
That's
like, how do I do this? And so it is perpetuated grief. So it's
yeah.
not like you go and have one funeral. You're having multiple throughout the
No.
process. And I know
Mm,
I'm using some pretty heavy words, but I think that that's the weight that this process carries.
yeah.
How do you feel about that? I know I
No,
use
I
strong words.
no, I know that's actually a great way, and I haven't really related it to that because I always think of more like hopelessness and despair at times, but really grief. I mean, yeah, I grieved for the young 24-year-old carefree, new mom that I once was. I grieved for, all the missed opportunities to go out with friends and family. So, and then just the grief of, oh, I felt good yesterday. Why am I going through this again today? So yeah, that constant perpetual cycle. No, I totally agree with you. I think that alone, that grief, that stress that
Yeah.
comes with that just keeps your body in a poor state. It's harder to heal from that. It's
Right.
so
And then thinking about the power of the mind. And
hmm
so if you don't have corrective thinking, or you're with a therapist that's helping you to learn how to manage the thinking,
hmm
all of the times that you're stressed with pain, stressed with the inconsistency, the cortisol that's being released into your body, which is perpetuating the problem in your gut.
hmm
And so for those that are listening and learning, I highly encourage, find a therapist that works well with you, that may specialize in chronic illness
hmm
patients as well, or a licensed counselor, to just help giving you tools to learn how to even manage
yeah.
our thoughts when we're in the crisis.
Oh yeah.
Woo.
That is so true. And that's one thing I guess I didn't really touch on that, but I have seen different counselors, different therapists over the years to
Mhm.
help deal with just the stress of life and the stress of the illness.
Yeah.
So, and I apologize for not bringing that up because that is
Woo.
so important. So, yeah, people definitely should seek out help, to seek someone who can help them navigate, because it is really hard. And sometimes I would feel guilty, just, complaining to my husband about how I felt, and, complaining to family. And I felt guilty that they don't want to hear this again. So it was a way for me to unburden and to
Mhm.
unload on someone else
Yeah.
other than just my family, who was right there taking such great care of me, and, in those times of need. So I didn't want to put more on them. So definitely seeing a therapist helped, and also kind of help just learn different tools, like you were saying, to kind of
Yes.
change your mind, your thinking.
It's huge. And as you touched on, the family, close friends, the support that's needed. And obviously, we'll continue to unpack that as we move forward just with this discussion around. But your circle is crucial. That support system is
Mm.
vital. And it may not always be the people you want. Everybody has a capacity. And, some people aren't ready to learn and to delve in and figure it out and see how you need to be
Mm.
supported. And then there are those that are.
Yeah.
And again, that's a whole another discussion in itself. But it does help the healing process
Yeah.
when you have balanced support.
hmm
That's crucial. What would you say you've learned about yourself dealing with chronic illness?
That I'm strong. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I can get through it. And obviously, I think I'm older. I feel like I'm wiser. I've been through some stuff now. Um, but I'm actually more at peace now,
Mhm.
with everything. Because when you're in the storm, you're in the storm. It's
Yeah.
rocky and you can't see, the other side. But now I feel like I'm on the other side. I feel that I'm at a peace with where I'm at with the disease. And I realized how strong I was throughout it,
Yeah.
knowing that if something else gets thrown at me, I know that I have the strength to get through that. So that's definitely been, one of my takeaways from this whole thing.
That's real. Let me tell you, a couple weeks ago, I was like, when I was flaring, I was getting some symptoms, and I was like, man, Someone once asked me, "What would you trade Crohn's disease for? Like, if you had
Mm,
to fight something else, what would it be?" And I sat there and I said nothing because I've learned
mm,
God has graced me to
yeah,
do life, and I now know how to how to function, how to thrive. Um,
yeah,
it's a fight, you know. There's good days, there's rough days, there's rough weeks, sometimes there's rough months.
yeah.
Um, but again, you know, as you've grown, as you've learned about yourself, and like as you said, just the maturity and wisdom that you
Hmm.
develop over years, it's like, okay. And so now it's time for us to pour into those that are newly diagnosed or in the middle of it, even caregivers that are trying to figure out, how do I support my kid, my spouse, family member,
Hmm.
best friend, you know, whatever the scenario is for you. What would you say one of the biggest misconceptions have been about you on your journey?
The biggest misconception about me, um, that I'm weak.
Oh,
So yeah, that I'm just gonna sit back and take it.
mhm.
So it's like, oh nay, 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 I say. Um I'm not that person. Even when I was, young going into those doctor's offices and I remember leaving crying, you know, I felt so weak and so hopeless in that moment. But that moment didn't define me. That only made me stronger. It made me more tenacious to actually go out and get help, to find someone who truly could help me or help myself to
Yeah.
find the answers.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Isn't it amazing what is perceived as strength?
yeah. Yeah, I don't have the muscles.
Yeah, but you know, living with a chronic condition or mortality is constantly before us. And so there's a different type of fight
Oh, yeah.
and focus and drive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
No, it's been a journey, but I'm thankful for it,
Hmm.
because of what I've been able to do as far as helping other people. And honestly, it's opened up my mind to so many different other ways of thinking. And I'm not a textbook. And I felt like going to different doctors that they were going to find the answer to my problem in a textbook. And I'm sorry, I'm not the textbook girl.
Hmm.
And I realized you have to think outside of the box, not only with, doctors and medical care, but also in life. And so this definitely has allowed me to look at life, differently and appreciate it, I think, on a different level and in a different way.
Well, and I bet also being a nurse, that just a whole nother lens. So there
Oh,
were certain things that you just knew to go in there and ask, and understanding the anatomy. What was that like for you as a nurse?
I realized it was actually getting me in trouble. So I didn't want to go in with an attitude that I know everything,
Hmm.
because I always wanted to go in and learn as much as I possibly could from the doctor. So I would actually hide the fact that I was a nurse, because I wanted them to truly diagnose me. How would they treat me aside from me being a nurse?
Okay.
And I would let them know later to see how things would change. But I've honestly gotten pretty perceptive with different doctors and how they operate. And there's certain doctors who are just very textbook based, I call it.
Hmm.
And those are the doctors that I stay away from, because I know that the body is so much more than what's contained in a book.
Hmm.
I need more of a doctor who is using their experience and the experiences that they've seen from so many other patients similar to me to actually help me.
Yes.
So yeah, it's opened up my eyes, because I know I've done so much reading and research on this. Um, it got to a point where I didn't go to the doctors who I knew I was going to get the textbook from. I
Okay.
wanted the doctors. If I can learn one thing from that doctor, that's the doctor I want to stick with. But if they're not teaching me anything new or offering anything new, it was a waste of a visit for me. So
Okay.
yeah.
So
So
what would you share with someone newly diagnosed with ulcerative colitis?
um, there's hope. It's not a death sentence. You can learn to manage the symptoms. Everyone's different. Um, but catch it. I mean, if you have those symptoms that come on and it's early, um, treat it early, don't ignore it, and find a doctor that you can truly communicate with, that
Mhm.
you're actually having an open relationship with, that is not a doctor who is just going to prescribe you a pill and send you on your way. You want a doctor to actually sit down, look you in the eye, and talk to you
Yeah.
and really understand what's going on with you. And finding the right doctors, I feel like so crucial and so important to your journey. And it may not be a regular medical doctor. I've seen naturopathic doctors that have been very helpful. I've seen functional medicine doctors, acupuncturists, herbalists. You have to find the doctor that is right for you and your condition.
That's huge. One of the blessings after whew, a long list of doctors, the doctor that I currently have now, his whole mindset was it's going to take a team.
Yeah.
He was like, it's going to take me as a GI specialist. It's going to take a naturopathic doctor. It's going to take homeopathic medicine. And I
Mm,
was like, oh my gosh, your answered prayer. Because,
nice.
like you said, you cannot, don't textbooks me.
Hmm.
Being able to get around somebody that understands, okay, this is a condition that needs a holistic lens. It's not just one view, one specialist that's going to tackle this. And so, along with your lived experience, and that's why I think it's crucial you said one that will sit there and look at you in your face and listen
Hmm.
and honor your story.
Yeah.
It's crucial in your treatment plan for your mental health, your physical, and I'd say your spiritual health as well. And so, man, based on what you now know about ulcerative colitis, what would you tell your younger self?
Change your diet. Ah, if I would have changed my diet so much earlier on, um, I wouldn't have had to have suffered through all of that. But also, there's hope. There's
Mhm.
hope that you will get through it regardless. It's so hard to hear that sometimes, though, when you're in it.
Oh
Uh,
man.
but if it was me talking to me, I would know. So yeah, that there's hope, but start making those changes. It's hard, but make the changes. It's worth it.
And how have you learned to, I like to use the word play again, have fun and live. How have you learned to do that freely without the fear of, I can't do this because I'm just not gonna be able to do it, or what if the symptoms occur? And that still may be there,
Mhm.
but how have you not allowed that to stop you from living?
Um, so just do it, but also my life is pretty much centered around my kids.
Mhm.
So making sure that they understand this is what's going on with mommy. And if mommy has to take a break, um, just know this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Um, but just to do it, whatever it is, just do it. I might be in the bathroom for a little bit longer and I might miss a little bit of the movie, but I'm going. So just to do it, but to make sure the people around me understand what's going on with me, and support that. And yeah, I just do it.
That's
Life's
so
too
good.
short not to.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure you would concur. Just man, the support is crucial. People
Oh
that
yeah.
you have around you to, I I'm laughing because I sit and think about like one of my closest friends when I was in the hospital prior to even being diagnosed. We didn't know what was going on, and he lived in a completely different state. But he heard I was in the hospital, and he's always cracking jokes. So he
Hmm.
calls and he was like, "Girl, what you doing? You boo-booing on yourself?" Right? And I'm in my mind like, "Oh
Oh my.
my gosh, he has no idea what I'm dealing with right now." And I was embarrassed. And he's on the phone, and my doctor's looking like, "Is everything okay?" And I told him what he just said, and he
Yeah.
cracked up
Oh
because
my
he's like, he
gosh.
has no idea what you're dealing with. So But that moment rejuvenated me. It was teaching
Mm,
me to laugh at stuff, because if you don't,
yeah.
the mental pressure and weight can just take you out.
Oh, yeah.
And so laughing on purpose and getting
Mm.
healthy, balanced support around you is crucial.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
Man, man, man. I could keep talking to you, but I know we got to wrap things up. I appreciate your time, your vulnerability, and being open to share and to give tools and support to those that are listening. Um, if anybody wants to kind of learn a little bit more from you, is there contact information you would like to share?
Yeah. Well, I actually don't have it. Maybe I can give it to you and maybe you could post it.
I can.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay. Thank you again so much, Ricky. I appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to continue to growing with you and continue to supporting the Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, but in general, just the chronic illness community.
Okay. This
Thank
has
you
been
so
great.
much.
Thank you.
No problem. So now, to our listeners, you can check us out on all of your podcast outlets, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to build, heal, grieve, do all the stuff that's required for us to continue to live a life that perpetuates healing. Thank you all so much. We love you.